Dynasty Decisions is a staple series we have over here at the Fantasy Stock Exchange, one that you guys have supported for these last few years ever since we started running them. But the main question that you guys always have in the DMs are, how are your own Dynasty teams doing? What type of moves are you making? Ultimately, how your league market kind of looks. You guys are curious on how our own Dynasty Decisions are doing. So today, I'll be going through my own Dynasty Decisions. You guys would have already seen Corey break down his moves he's made this offseason last week. I'll be going through every single move I've made in terms of rookie picks, in terms of trades this offseason, and ultimately the direction I want to take each of these teams. So if you guys enjoy, of course, make sure you leave a like down below. And if you guys want to do a similar exercise with your own Dynasty teams, check out the My Teams feature over on Flock Fantasy. You guys can load in your sleeper ID and feast your eyes on your roster, your league mates rosters, who has the best quarterback core, running back core, wide receiver core, tight end core, and ultimately who has the most picks in your league. So this tool is really helpful with being able to see what other owners need in your league, what you personally need, and ultimately what are your ideal trade partners to fit your needs. You guys can even see where you're ranked according to each position. So like you can see right here, you got the number 1 quarterback here, number 6 quarterback here with Josh Allen and Justin Herbert. At running back, I do have Jahmyr Gibbs, Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, and Saquon Barkley. But basically, as you guys can see at the top right under where I'm located on my cam, number 1 quarterback core, number 1 running back core, number 1 wide receiver core, and number 2 tight end core. So if you guys want to do this own review yourself, feel free to do so over on Flock Fantasy. But with that being said, let's hit the damn intro and let's get into some of my Dynasty teams. All right, so let's head into the first team, and that is going to be from the Mickey Mouse League. And this is a really well-renowned league. A lot of Twitter analysts you guys would know in particular, guys like Jacob Sanderson. If you're following us over here at FSE, you guys will most likely know Ron Stewart as well, Wiser Fantasy. A lot of well-known analysts in the fantasy football space. And I'm showing you the before and after shots of this team. So for the context of this team specifically, this was a 2-year punt out of the startup in a very top-heavy competitive league. Again, like I said, I punted specifically for future picks out of the startup, but I finally cashed in this offseason. So right now you guys are seeing on the screen here, let me show the picks just so you guys can get a better look. Those are all the picks. Those are all the roster players I had coming into this offseason. And as we are right now, the team looks a lot different. So I'll show you, of course, this is the before. And this is the after of the rookie draft. I'll outline some of my moves right now so you guys can get context for how you turn a house money team with a lot of picks to potentially buy up some point equity and compete the following season. So the first deal you guys can see on the screen right now, I'll throw the first 3 deals on it so you guys can get some context. The first one, of course, I make a move for Justin Jefferson. Again, the context of this league is that it is only a 12-man bench, very, very shallow benches. Having all these picks, having all this depth, not really consequential in this league. You need the firepower. You need the star talent, and they are valued appropriately. So you can argue I paid an arm and a leg to go get Justin Jefferson. I end up acquiring Justin Jefferson in the 109, which turned into Xavier Worthy, and end up giving back the 106, which ended up being Brock Bowers, 2 mid-projected 2025 first-round picks, and the 203, which is Keon Coleman, which you guys will see in a second, I ended up reacquiring at a later date. So overall, again, you can argue I overpaid a little bit. I had all these picks backed up. You guys can still see I have picks still in 2025, in 2026 to be able to buy at a later date. It just felt worth it. I wanted to get an anchor wide receiver to head this group, and I feel like I did so with this Justin Jefferson trade. But Justin Jefferson didn't stay on my team for too much longer because I really got an offer here that I felt very comfortable making. I ended up sending away Justin Jefferson, Jamison Williams, the 111 and the 206, and end up acquiring CeeDee Lamb, Kyron Williams, and George Kittle. If you're a Jamison Williams guy, maybe you want the Jamison Williams side on this deal. But for me, I needed running back equity at this time. Now, you could argue in hindsight with the way my core ended up materializing, maybe I didn't need a running back knowing the potential moves I'd make later on. But at the time, Kyron Williams would have been my only running back. I ended up getting George Kittle to head my tight end group because prior to getting Sam Laporta, which you guys will see in the next deal, I didn't really have a set tight end. My next tight end was Michael Mayer. I didn't have anybody really after that, was really struggling at the position. So very comfortable with this move. In terms of the overall valuation, I would equal out, Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb. And then at that point, it's Jameson Williams, 111 and 206 for Kyron and George Kittle, which is a fine price I'm willing to pay given the league context and given the fact that these are shorter benches. Next deal, I ended up just shipping George Kittle right away again. I ended up sending away my George Kittle 108, which became JG McCarthy, and my own mid to late 2025 first, a pick I project to be in the later portion of the draft next year. I ended up acquiring Jonathan Taylor to get me some running back point equity and Sam Laporta, the number one tight end on the Dynasty sphere, and one that I'm comfortable making a move for. So the way I kind of equate this deal is give or take 108 versus Jonathan Taylor, pretty much a wash. And then I end up adding my own first-round pick to George Kittle to upgrade based on a youth standpoint and based off an overall point equity standpoint with Sam Laporta. So really love the moves I was able to make. These next couple deals I kind of go through a little bit quicker for you guys. I end up acquiring Mike Evans and Devon Achane in exchange for Michael Mayer. That should say the 110. I don't know why it says 1-1, but keep in context that is the 110. A 2025 mid to late second, the 307, which became Malachi Corley, and the 404, which became Rasheen Ali. Again, I'm trying to win now. Mike Evans is a guy going in the second round of redraft leagues this year. Same thing with Devon Achane. Fine with making this move. This next deal, I end up trading away the 2026 late projected 2, the 2026 mid projected 2, and the 2025 late 3. And I end up getting 2 players I'm very high on. Keon Coleman, again, a guy with a lot of upside working with Josh Allen. Felt comfortable making this price. You can argue, given the context of 2 2s plus a 3 for a 2 and a 3, I probably lost this deal on face value. But at the same time, like I said, with the short benches, I believe in this rookie class. Jalen Wright's a guy I have valued in the second round anyways. And like I mentioned with Keon Coleman, he probably would be a late first rounder in most classes. So really cool making this move. This is the deal that I'm regretting a little bit now. For context, I have a ton of Drake May, like you guys will see in this video, but I end up moving 1 share specifically because, as you guys can see with the rest of my quarterback core, I needed point equity to try to compete. So Ron was trying to rebuild. He was trying to retool his team. He was willing to give up the Purdy Ayuk stack, get the running back points off his team with Saquon Barkley. We ended up coming to this type of deal here, 104, 109, plus that mid to late projected 2025 one. I end up acquiring Brock Purdy, Saquon Barkley, Brandon Ayuk, and Cole Kmet to be my backup tight end. So the way I kind of equal this deal out is Saquon Barkley, more or less, in my opinion, is about equal in value to Xavier Worthy. Then at that point, it's Drake May plus the late mid to late projected 1 in exchange for Brock Purdy, Brandon Ayuk, Cole Kmet. Yes, I downgrade from Drake May to Brock Purdy, but I also up my point equity this year. And I do get a wide receiver going in the top 15 of redraft leagues with Brandon Ayuk. So this is a deal I'm fine making. And for context, you guys can see the draft board at the top. But enough with the Mickey Mouse League. We can move on to the next league. And that's actually going to be the Ladster League Best Ball. You guys can see the team on the screen. For the context, in this league, this is a defending champion in a competitive league. And I feel like this team is ready to claim its back-to-back. I feel very content with the depth of assets I have. Again, keep in mind, this is a best ball league. And I feel good holding positional advantages at each spot at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. So you guys can see, of course, the team on the screen. I added up a couple players I listed in blue from the rookie draft. I'll show you guys the rookie draft in a second, but I'll first outline the moves I've made this offseason. The first trade here, end up sending away Deshaun Watson, the 111 and the 303 for Kyler Murray. Feel confident in that. A little bit concerned about Deshaun Watson. He was my quarterback 2 at the time. Wanted to make that upgrade, go get a guy like Kyler Murray, who I felt, was going to be my quarterback 2 entering the season. But then I got an offer I just simply could not pass up. And I get it. If you guys are playing best ball, you may argue, well, the depth of the assets you gave up are more than enough to equalize Patrick Mahomes. But I had no Patrick Mahomes shares across my portfolio. Like you guys can see with this team, I'm loaded with depth anyway. So I end up making this move. I end up trading away Kyler Murray, Jaden Reed, a guy I believe in that 2025 mid to late 1 in exchange for Patrick Mahomes. Again, you can argue Kyler Murray versus Patrick Mahomes point equity relatively similar, and me giving up the Jaden Reed and 1 would equal that size in a best ball league specifically. But It's Patrick Mahomes. I could not deny Patrick Mahomes, and I'm fine making this move for Patrick Mahomes every time. This next deal, I end up trading away Justin Fields in exchange for an early projected 2025 2, which I then leverage off in my next deal. So you guys can view all these deals kind of in conjunction, these three deals. So Justin Fields for the 2025 2 early. The reason why I say that is because these next two deals kind of work hand in hand. I end up trading away Kyle Pitts and that exact same 2025 early projected 2. I end up acquiring the 112, the 204, and the 206. Again, keep in context, this is a best ball league. I wanted the point equity upside of all those guys I selected in the second round. So you guys can see the 112 ended up being Bo Nix, but I ended up moving that 112 down. A guy really wanted Bo Nix, really wanted his choice of the quarterback litter. I trade down a few spots to the 205. I pocket a Derek Carr to be my competitive quarterback 3, and I also pocket the 310, which ended up being a guy I really like, a guy I have ranked higher with Audric Estime at that spot. So overall, I'm feeling very good at the direction of this team. I feel like I can compete yet again, and I feel like I can go back and defend this title for this upcoming season. But we move on to League 3, and that's actually going to be Tone Setter Truthers. And this is another defending champion monster team with a few other teams at the top trying to vie for my crown. This team is in very good shape to repeat, in my opinion, and I feel very good about the status coming into the season. Quarterbacks headed by Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. Running backs, Christian McCaffrey, Kyron Williams, Rashad White, etc. there. Wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Chris Olave, Brian Thomas Jr., which I'll get to in a second. Tight ends, maybe my weak point, but I do feel confident with Dallas Goedert and Jake Ferguson heading that group. And you guys can see from the trades I made this offseason, I went shopping, man. So I got an inbox offer right when he was on the clock at the 111. I would give up my 2025 mid to late projected first. Keep in mind, I won the championship last year. I'm probably in pole position to repeat this year. And Brian Thomas Jr. is a guy that I value as a mid projected 2025 first. So felt really good from a value standpoint. Inbox offer. I hit the accept button. Feel good as a competitive team trying to box in a Brian Thomas Jr. for my young depth on this team. Next deal here, I trade away the 205 and the 2025 third to move up 2 spots to the 203. And the reason why I do this, you guys will see in a second, is that Corey wanted Keon Coleman with that 203 pick. I had the 205. He said, hey, listen, I'm not willing to make this next deal without the 203 because I want Keon Coleman in this deal if I'm going to trade away this player. So I get aggressive. I move up to 2 spots. I give away my 2025 third, whatever. Not a very consequential piece for the ultimate deal I end up making. You guys can see here, I trade away Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore, and that 203, which was Keon Coleman. I end up pocketing away Jamar Chase and Jahan Dotson. Now, I get it from a context standpoint. You can argue Garrett Wilson, tier below Jamar Chase, but once you equate DJ Moore and Keon Coleman into that valuation, you probably prefer that side. But you guys can see the team on the screen. I have depth. It's a start 10 league. I need hammers. I need top-end point-scoring monsters to help me repeat as the champion. Jamar Chase represents exactly that, a guy that's being selected in the top 5 of drafts right now, a guy that, despite what happens this upcoming year, is very, very value insulated. So, again, you can argue Garrett Wilson's side actually is the valuable side on this deal, but given the context of my team, this was a fine price I was willing to pay. And you guys can also see the rookie draft on the screen. Guys like, of course, Corey's in this league. A lot of FSC faithfuls like Fletsky, Ginger Rail, a lot of well-known FSC subscribers. So this league's a lot of fun. This has been going on for a couple years. I end up winning in year 2. Potentially going for that year 3 crown as well. So hopefully I can hit that repeat button. But we can move on to the next team here. And that's actually going to be from the No Flockin League. The most recent startup from last offseason. I'll get to one that started this offseason in a second. But again, this was the first year of this league. This past year, I am the defending champion though. So I actually win the inaugural year in the No Flockin League. But out of the 3 champions I've talked about thus far, I feel like this is definitely the weakest one and the one I need to be most proactive with. Plan as of now is to compete yet again. I want to try to claim that back-to-back championship crown. I want to be the back-to-back champion because I do realize that this is the team that I most likely have to rebuild after this offseason. If I can get that 2-peat, it makes the rebuild after a whole lot more satisfying. You guys, of course, can see the team. And the only real deal of note I've made in this league was actually in season. And One, I'm not going to lie, I got to give myself a pat on the back for. This ended up materializing beautifully for me. Trade away Hunter Henry, Jerry Jeudy, DeAndre Swift, a late projected 2025 1, and a late projected 2025 late 3. Again, those are both my own picks. In exchange, I received Puka Nacua, Deebo Samuel, Marquise Brown, and Khalil Herbert. Really upgraded my point equity. Of course, like I said, ended up winning the championship in a very, very close league. So honestly, if I don't make this move, I probably don't win in year one, and probably the complexion of this team is looking a lot worse. So I'm very, very happy being able to make that trade. You guys can see the overall scope of the rookie draft right now, but we can move on to the next league here. And this is actually the first ever FSC Listener League startup we did back in 2020, a league that I punted out of the startup, was basically dead last in year one, and then I ended up turning into an absolute juggernaut since then. I made the finals this past year. Somehow with this roster, I have not won a championship, but I made the finals. Justin Herbert gets hurt. Deshaun Watson gets hurt. They were out for the year. I had no quarterback too. I ended up losing a close battle in the finals to Ruffalo, but I had no picks this offseason, but that didn't stop this oncoming blockbuster, which you guys will see. I ended up selling off Drake London, James Cook, Deshaun Watson, and that mid to late projected 2025 one, my own pick. I ended up receiving Justin Jefferson and Russell Wilson. Now, I understand I did give up a lot in this deal. Drake London's a guy I really believe in. James Cook, very, very good running back point equity. Deshaun Watson, maybe he bounces back, is worth a first after this year. But given the fact that this is a start 9 and I have the depth that I do on this roster, I'm making this move every single time. Give me Justin Jefferson. I pair him with Jamar Chase. I have Breece Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Trey McBride, Jake Ferguson, Puka Nacua. Like, there's just no chance from a on-paper standpoint that any team actually really holds up to me in this league. So for me, I want to buy that top-end producer. I need to win the championship this year. Otherwise, I mean, I can flex how pretty this team looks, but if it's not bringing in championships, at the end of the day, that is the end goal. I need to win the championship with this roster. This next league is actually a Devy league that we're in with myself, Corey, Flet's in this, Ron's in this, Dynasty IM, Ian on Twitter is in this. Very, very fun, competitive Devy league. The startup was last offseason. You guys can see that I got pretty damn active with this team. I feel very confident with the status it's in. If you guys do follow Devy, you guys will know some of those names. Guys like Devin Neal, Donovan Edwards, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate. On top of the NFL roster I have there with Anthony Richardson, Drake May, Will Levis at quarterback, Bijan, Trey Benson, et cetera, running back, Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, et cetera, wide receiver, and then Tucker Kraft, a little bit weak at tight end, but a guy I believe in there with Tucker Kraft. But you guys can see the overall scope of the team, but let's show you how I got to this position. This first deal, I ended up receiving Drake London, Carnell Tate, and the 2024 Devy third. It's not listed there, but that should say Abu Sama from Iowa State. I ended up giving away Brandon Ayuk, DeAndre Swift, and Alexander Madison. This was done at a time where Brandon Ayuk's market value was higher than Drake London's. I ended up buying low on Drake London. Feel very good now knowing that I have him ranked over Brandon Ayuk. And then telling me I can trade DeAndre Swift plus Alexander Madison into Carnell Tate, a very, very high upside Ohio State wide receiver going in the top 12 of Devy startups right now, plus that 2024 Devy third, which turned into Abu Sama. So feel really good about that. Next deal, I ended up trading away the rookie 101 in a Devy depleted pool, which ended up being Jaden Daniels, plus the Devy 301, which turned into Nick Anderson. I end up receiving Bijan Robinson and Lenora Sellers. Again, it says Arkansas there. That should say South Carolina for clarification, so my apologies there, but feel very good about that. Get my point equity with Bijan Robinson. Still get some quarterback upside in my Devy pool with Lenora Sellers. Feel good there. Next deal, trade away Rashid Shaheed plus the rookie 201, which ended up being Marshawn Lloyd. I ended up upgrading to Jalen Wright, in my opinion. Sure, Rashid Shaheed, if you're high on him, it's got some upside. For me, because I have so many good wide receivers, both in my Devy pool and in my NFL pool, I'm comfortable trading away Rashid Shaheed for quote-unquote this low of a price. These next two deals, I end up trading my 2025 Devy 1 straight up for the Devy 203 this year with Jonah Coleman. Thought process here, the 203 about equal in value, in my opinion, to next year's one, simply because more Devy players will be rostered by then. And Jonah Coleman's a guy I really believe in out of Washington. Graded extremely well on PFF, very elusive, very, very good contact balance. I'm very excited to see how he performs there at Washington. transferring from Arizona this offseason. And of course, I ended up trading away Curtis Samuel for that Devy 412, which ended up being Jalen Daniels. So if you guys follow Devy, you guys would have enjoyed some of these moves. You guys would understand some of these moves. If you guys don't play Devy, you probably skip this part. But overall, I feel very good. And if you guys want to hear more Devy content on the channel, let me know in the comment section. Me and Corey have been really, really enjoying this Devy League. So if you guys want to hear some of our insight, some of our potential future rankings, let us know in the comment section if you've made it to this point in the video. But I feel like we can move on to the next league here. And that's actually going to be a league that we all share yet again, another best ball league with a lot of your analysts, Ron Stewart, Corey, myself, Fletsky's in this league. A lot of fun dynasty managers in this league. That's going to be from Too Lazy to Set lineups. I am the defending champion yet again. You guys are going to hear that term again. I won a lot of damn leagues this year. I won 9 leagues overall. I believe 8 of them were dynasty leagues. I made 10 or 11 championship games. Like, I had a very good year in terms of the ROI. So I feel good about that. In terms of this league, again, I am the defending champion. It is a very competitive league. I actually barely grazed through Ron in the semifinals in this league. I believe I beat him by like 0.2 or 0.3. So a lot of fun. I'm going to go try for that back-to-back. And like I said, with the earlier league, I will most likely be proactive to rebuild this offseason regardless. So I'm going to try for the back-to-back. Hopefully I get it. Even if I don't get it, I'm going to have to try to retool this thing because outside of my top needle-moving assets, Lamar, Dak, Breeze, CeeDee Lamb, Mark Andrews, I have a little bit of concerns both from an age standpoint and from a depth standpoint. Again, this is a best ball league, so I do have enough numbers overall, but not really guys I feel like have consistent value year over year, like Josh Jacobs, Zamir White, Tony Pollard, Brian Robinson. Not really guys I'm confident in the long term. So for me personally, again, I'm going to try to get proactive. I want to try to rebuild this thing after the season, but the goal in mind, at least for this year, is definitely to give this thing one last push. No real moves I made this offseason. No picks made in the draft. Had no rookie picks. So this was a very, very quick review, but I wanted to give you the insight to how my Too Lazy to Set lineups team actually looked. The next league here is actually a league I share with Fletsky. This is called AA. Again, this is a 10-team PPR league. Different league dynamic. Not a lot of FSC faithfuls other than AJ in this league. So very fresh view. A lot of different valuations. Very, very different league market. It's like a nice break from just playing with you guys who you guys know all of our rankings. You guys know all of what we want to do in trade. So harder to get, very, very good values with you guys. But for this league specifically, felt like we got a lot of good value on this team. Quarterbacks there, we have Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy, Drake May, Daniel Jones, etc. there. Running backs headed by Bijan Robinson, Devon Achane. Not much else, I'm not going to lie. Probably going to have to make a move, which I'll allude to in a second. Wide receivers, though, absolutely loaded to the brim. Jamar Chase, Amon St. Brown, Brandon Ayuk, Malik Neighbors, Keon Coleman, Jalen Poole, Javon Baker, Jacob Cowing, etc. there. I feel very, very confident about that wide receiver core. And then this is probably the position where I'm going to need to be buying running backs with. We have Sam Laporta, Kyle Pitts, and Jake Ferguson at tight end. A big embarrassment of riches. Again, ideally in this world, we're going to be able to get maximum market value for Sam Laporta for running back equity. We could get maximum running back value for Kyle Pitts on the open market, but we're still working the lines. Again, no rush at this point. We're not fielding points at this current point, but definitely come season time. Goal is to move one of these tight ends into running back point production after those top two. The only real big trade we made this offseason, myself and Fletsky, is on the draft day. We ended up trading away DJ Moore, T. Higgins, and our own 2025 mid to late projected one. I feel confident in saying that's mid to late projected, knowing the teams in this league, knowing how strong our team is specifically. Feel confident, especially with the addition of Jamar Chase. That should be a later pick. And of course, on the other side, you end up seeing we buy Jamar Chase. It's funny. You guys can comment down below. Danny loves his elite wide receivers because it seems like almost every league I'm buying one of Jamar Chase, one of CeeDee Lamb, one of Justin Jefferson this offseason. So feel very, very good, very, very confident about the moves I've made in each of my leagues this offseason. You guys can see, of course, the rookie draft on the screen. End up getting, of course, Malik Neighbors, Drake May, along with the other picks listed on that screenshot. So I can move on to the next team here and the final team of the video. We're going to be getting into the FlockMeSilly League, a league that just started this offseason, a league with a lot of you guys over on Flock Fantasy. All mother flockers and flockers in this league. A lot of you guys know us very well, so it's tough to get very, very good value on some of these trades. But I noticed an opportunity to one-year punt, so I collected picks in the startup. startup, and I feel very confident about the overall team. Again, not the most ideal rookie draft. Didn't plan on selecting as many running backs as I did, but the thought process there was that they were the best players available at their spots, and I can sell them in season for profit since I paid such a low opportunity cost to get them. Outside of Jonathan Brooks, all of them being selected after the 210 or later. So feel good about that. Like if Devon Achane misses any time, I know I can get profit on Jalen Wright. If, Devin Singletary misses any time, if Christian McCaffrey misses time, James Cook, Javonte Williams, and of course, Rashad White, I feel very good at the value I got those running backs at to potentially flip them at a later date. Again, they're not guys I am considering holding for the long term, considering I have so many of them. But if I can find little value pockets in the season to maybe collect a future second or a future third for some of these guys, that's going to be the thought process in mind. I was able to bank away 3 first-round picks in 2025, along with having Josh Allen, Kyler Murray at quarterback, Puka Nacua as my main wide receiver, with, as you guys can see in blue, my overall rookie class being added there with Ladd McConkey, Keon Coleman, and Jalen Coker also at the wide receiver positions. In terms of the trades I've made this offseason, this was specifically in the rookie draft. Again, I'm not going to bore you with some of the startup deals, like moving up from the 10th to the 8th or moving down from the 5th to the 7th. Like, I'm not going to bore you with some of those. I'm just going to specifically go through the deals I made in the rookie draft. First deal here, ended up trading away Ramondre Stevenson plus a 205, which ended up turning into Trey Benson. I ended up pocketing Keon Coleman in the 2025 too. Again, from a value standpoint, you can argue Trey Benson, Keon Coleman being in the same tier and you preferring Ramondre Stevenson. But knowing the context of the team, knowing the context of this league market, I get Keon Coleman to stack with my Josh Allen. I liquidate Ramondre Stevenson into what should be a potential mid-projected 2025 too. So even though I didn't get, crazy value, I feel confident with this deal. And speaking of feeling confident with this deal, the next deal I ended up making here, I ended up trading away the 108, the 207, and the 211, which ended up materializing into Brock Bowers, AD Mitchell, and Blake Corum, respectively. I ended up receiving Ladd McConkey, the 202, which turned into Jonathan Brooks, and the 301, which you guys will see in a second, ended up turning into Marshawn Lloyd. So I'll just kind of conjoint these deals. Instead of the 301, just pretend I got the 307 and the 404, because you guys can see in the next deal, I traded the 301 Marshawn Lloyd. I turned that into 307 and 404, which ended up being Audric Estime and Tyrone Tracy. So anyway, you slice it. You guys can comment down below. Do you prefer Brock Bowers, AD Mitchell, and Blake Corum? Do you prefer Ladd McConkey, Jonathan Brooks, Audric Estime, and Tyrone Tracy? For me, because I dealt some of my startup picks for future 2025 ones, I feel very confident about this deal. Again, Brock Bowers, he's going to be valuable in this format, but I really, really love the upside of Ladd McConkey there. And I wanted to share, got him at 109. You can argue Xavier Worthy there. You can argue Brian Thomas Jr. Had a couple shares of those guys respectively, so I wanted to get a Ladd McConkey on my team. Overall, this is how the rookie draft went. Feel very, very comfortable with how my team is following the rookie draft. But like you guys can see with all those running backs I have in the roster, most likely have to get proactive this season once people start facing running back injuries, trying to liquidate some future twos and really build up the capital of this team. But overall, I feel good where I'm at with all these leagues. Comment down below your thoughts on each of the 9 Dynasty leagues I've showed you on today's video. And of course, if you guys enjoyed, make sure you leave a like down below. Comment your favorite team of the 9 I've showed you, whether it's, Tone Setter Truthers, FFC Listener League. Comment your favorite team of mine that you liked in today's video. But with that being said, peace out. We'll talk to you soon. Had a lot of fun today. And stay tuned for our upcoming content where we'll dive into our best ball rankings for this summer. So a ton of fun coming underway. But with that being said, take care.